Hello, and we are live, and this is Anna Laura Brown from Salt Lake City, Utah, and Tracy Hoobyar from
Reno, Nevada.
Reno, Nevada. Okay, and so, well, let's welcome Tracy to the call. So Tracy calls herself the street smart chick. So Tracy, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about who you are and how you got here?
Sure. So my background is a little different than some other people's out there. It's very varied. I was raised by an entrepreneur who had started 40, last count was like 49 businesses. So I'm very, very passionate about the entrepreneurial venture and the passion that entrepreneurs have. I started my family early, and I have my degree in psychology. I've also been trained in NLP, which is a study of human communication and behavior, trained in hypnosis. I'm trained in natural healing through both NLP and hypnosis. So I've got a strong background in human behavior and psychology and communication, very passionate about all of those things. And you know, it's funny actually, a lot of the people I work with, friends and colleagues, people I've gone through training with and school with, who are really out there wanting to make a difference and help people and just want to get their message out there. One of their biggest struggles is figuring out how to deal with social media. You know, I think when you get people who are maybe a little introverted, maybe a little empathetic, so they really get caught up in people's stories, it's difficult for them to understand how to use social media to build relationships and still be effective rather than get caught up in the relationship of it all. And I had a number of friends in the business who just started asking more and more for my help, and I realized that that's where I was going to be able to do more help for the kind of global health and communications world, was to be able to help coaches get their word out.
Okay, so you do more business and social media type coaching, and you're really not doing health and life and psychology type work, even though that's what you have the background in.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I do and I can, but you know, I really want to help other people. I realized when I started looking at the numbers, right? So you go through all this training and you think, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to make a difference in the world and I want to help people and all this warm, fuzzy, feel-good stuff, and this is what my true calling is. And then you start looking at the number of hours there are in a day and the number of days there are in a week, and there's really, in a one-on-one basis, there's X number of people that you can truly help if you're going to spend the time with them. And I realized I would be able to exponentially increase that by helping the people who help them. Does that make
Yep,
sense?
it does, absolutely. Yep, for sure.
So
So did
that's,
you have a job before you started your business, or have you just been an entrepreneur pretty much your whole life?
I've kind of been both, actually. I've had a job. I've been over 20 years in the marketing, sales, and advertising industry. I've worked with newspaper, online advertising. I have sold industrial supplies to warehouses. I have been the community liaison for blood drives, so I got people to sell their blood to me. I mean, you know, there aren't a lot of sales that are a lot harder than getting people to give you their blood. Um,
Yeah.
so I've done marketing, I've done sales, but I've also almost always had my own business. I owned an insurance agency for a number of years. I've done, years ago, I was doing a lot of coaching and consulting with parents and adults who had ADD, helping them first learn how to work a little bit better with their children and have fewer arguments, and also learning how to take their ADHD, which I consider to be more of a gift than a disorder, and structure that and set that up to be their best advantage. So I've always been an employee for a lot of years anyway, but I've also always had my own ventures on the side. I'm not a very good employee, though, I must say.
You know what? I have a tendency to think that a lot of us who are entrepreneurs aren't very good employees. I
Right?
know I can be a good employee on a new job in the very beginning, but
Right.
fast I end up not being so great. Just
Exactly.
because I have a tendency to get bored fairly easily, or to want to do a variety of different things, or to want to do my own things.
Right.
And so, I do fine on temp jobs or part-time jobs or gigs where I don't have to work at the place for very often or very long. But once I've been around for a while, it tends to go south just because of
Right.
all the entrepreneur type traits that I have. So yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. So variety is good.
Yeah, so how did you get into helping people with the ADD, ADHD bit? I'm just a little bit curious about that.
Both of my daughters have ADD, and one I have ADD. My father had it. My mother. So it's we come by it honestly. And I have a different philosophy on it than a lot of people do. My oldest daughter was able to learn how to use it to her best advantage. She actually graduated high school with an advanced diploma. My youngest daughter has turned the extra energy that she's got into a business, and she has had a business since she was 9 years old. She started going to marketing conferences with me when she was 9. She has written a book that's already on Amazon that's yoga for kids to help kids learn how to take the energy that they've got, whether it's from ADHD or from being bullied or whatever it is that kids are dealing with, and channel that into something that's going to make them healthier. So, personal experience, and combine that with my background in psychology and communication and behavior, and it's something I'm passionate about, helping people with ADHD, and it just kind of grew into what was an incredibly successful business. I ended up leaving it due to some personal family issues that jumped in, and as I tend to do, usually at the most inopportune times, life jumps in and says, nope, nope, changing course now.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
So
I loved it.
awesome. So who do you consider to be your ideal client? In other words, who are most of the people that you usually work with?
You know, started out just with coaches and people in the healing profession, online introverts, and I distinguish between an introvert and an online introvert. And there are some people who, if you take them to a party, they do absolutely fine. They've got friends, they like to get out and go to public events in town. But you get them online, and there's something about the online space that just makes them want to shrink into themselves, not get out there, not speak to people. So I started working with the online introverts and the coaches and the healers. And now that's still a large piece of my business. But I also have found that there are a lot of people who are starting out. In fact, I'm just started working with a DJ who really wants to do well. He's a DJ by night, he's a construction worker by day. Being online in the online space really isn't in his bag of tricks, shall we say. So helping him out, real estate agents, actually I've had a lot of interest from both real estate agents and attorneys, interestingly. So really it's, I think, about the solopreneur, the person who's running a business on their own rather than the person who has a huge team. And with that in mind, I keep everything very affordable and very much, I do what I can to be very transparent. That's a big piece for me, is letting people know, and some education along the process. So really it's people who don't want to get their hands dirty, want to know a little bit about it so that they aren't getting ripped off somewhere else, and people who are in business for themselves and oftentimes by themselves.
Awesome. So this is a question I've asked a couple other people I've interviewed, and it's always interesting to see what people respond. Do
Uh-oh.
you have a favorite social media site? And if so, what one and why?
I do, and it's Facebook. And I don't know, after I finish answering, I would love to hear what everybody else has said. But for me, Facebook really allows for a deeper kind of relationship. It kind of combines, you've got Instagram, which is really all about pictures and images. You've got Pinterest, which is pictures and images linked to websites. You've got Twitter, which is 140 characters or less. Each site kind of has its own piece. I like Facebook because it kind of allows all pieces to come into play. And it seems to be where my family's spread out. I've got family in, all different states. So it also allows me to keep in touch with my nieces and nephews that are all over growing up before my very eyes. It allows me to build relationships and get to know people that I otherwise, I would see once a year, and then occasionally keep letters going back and forth. So for me, Facebook really just allows a different depth of relationship than some of the other social medias do.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I have a tendency to lean towards thinking that Facebook is probably my favorite site too. You know,
Is
it
it?
has for me personally, it's the one that's given me the most business.
Hmm.
Although I do have, sometimes I kind of wonder and think, I wonder if maybe I could use LinkedIn or Twitter more effectively, and then maybe they'd give me more business. I don't know, but I tend to be more of a Facebook girl too. Yeah, and actually one of the other ladies that I interviewed actually said that she doesn't really have a favorite social media site. And in
Okay.
fact, she's like, social media is, to her, is one of these necessary evils that she's like, I don't know how. She's like, I'm not really even a social media fan. I just feel like you have to do it in order to succeed nowadays. It's kind of, if you
It-
don't do it and you're in business, you're pretty much not in business. So,
right. Yeah, and it's funny. I'm surprised actually because I do like social media. I have fun with it. I've helped. My daughter has a very strong presence on it, so I've not only built it for myself, but help my daughter and stuff. I have a very close friend who is a hypnotherapist, and he cannot stand social media. I mean, he won't even. To him, Twitter is actually Tweeter. Facebook is that Facebook thing. He just cannot stand it. It's a necessary evil. He's hired me to help him with it, which is going great. But it's funny to me because some people really, really, I think, just cannot stand it, and the time it takes, and the perceived privacy violation.
mhm.
You know, those are some of the common complaints I hear, and all of which make sense, and most of which can be um, mitigated a bit.
Yep, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, and I think part of, at least for me, I tell people sometimes I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook because I feel like sometimes I can get just carried away and waste too much time with it. And so that's one thing for me that I'm just like, yeah.
And
Had
we all
enough Facebook.
I do that every now and then, and I'll look at the time of the day, and I'll think, "Are you kidding me? It's 4 o'clock. I've gotten exactly nothing done." And one thing I've done for that, here I'll show you. I just happen to have it. I use a Post-it note, just a little square Post-it note, and I'll write down. I can usually get about 9 things on that, and I'll write down just a list of tasks that need to be completed. Email this person, respond to this, whatever. And I will shut down my Facebook or Twitter or whatever I'm on at the moment until I finish that list. Then I can throw it up, toss it, go back, and then I get something done.
It's awesome. That's a great idea. I
Yeah,
know
that's
there are computer programs people have mentioned to me. I haven't tried any of them. That apparently you can even block yourself from being able to go to Facebook for a
yeah,
certain time frame until you get stuff done. And I don't know. I haven't hasn't been quite that extreme for me, but who knows? Maybe I'll try them at some point. But so that was,
yeah. That's I went to the Post-it note because I like to. So, tidbit about me: I'm a bit of a control freak, and the thought of having to use a computer program to prevent me from doing something just irritates me. I don't want to think I'm that out of control with anything. So I like the Post-it note because I can just write it down. I can cross it off as I do it. I can throw it away. It's not, it doesn't keep things out of my hands, and it's a fun test. Every now and then you get too caught up in it. It's kind of fun to say, okay, let's, let's do what needs to be done, and even I can do 9 things or 10 or whatever I can fit on that list. And it usually goes faster. Then it's not time-based either, and that's something else that helps me anyway, is to make it task-based rather than time-based.
yeah, that's a good That's a good point for sure. Yeah, because it's, and Facebook can be very productive if you're in there actually chatting with people who could potentially be clients, or, follow-up conversations with people, or, in there actually actively looking to connect with your target market, then, Facebook can be a good use of time.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah, it can be fantastic. I have actually an event that I'm putting together. Oh, it's in 5 days. It's on Monday for Social Media Day. And I've been able to, let's see, I think I've got 19 confirmed speakers. It's still a little, rubbery on that, but I I want to say 15 of them have all been relationships I've built online. And there was some fantastic people that are going to be joining me. PJ Van Hull and Adam Urbanski and Mara Glazer and a bunch of people, and they're all based on online relationships. So it can be incredibly useful and powerful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, you reach people that you wouldn't reach otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. You know,
Okay,
I
go
think there
ahead.
are practices also anytime you're dealing with that, you know, social media, and that's something that people really need to be careful about. You know, respond to messages and be polite and don't air your dirty laundry. Those kinds of things that sometimes I think get forgotten.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Tracy. In fact, I see people sometimes post things online on social media sites, and I just think, really? And I guess the thing that's the most shocking to me is I'm not as shocked when I see things by, you know, friends and family or people that I know are not in business. I'm not as shocked by what they post.
Right.
But when I sometimes, you know, because I add a lot of people that I'm in, we're in Facebook groups together, or people even from things like the Listapalooza that we've both been participating in.
Right.
And I see some of what I see that gets posted by people that I've added that are business coaches, life coaches. I mean, I've even had to go unfriend some of them because some of the things I see posted. And
It's
sometimes I'm just thinking, what on earth are you guys doing?
exactly. Yeah, and you know, I mean, I kind of look at it and say, okay, if you would get a billboard and say what you're about to say, then go for it. But if you're not willing to put it on a billboard, maybe keep it to yourself or put it in a private message to somebody, because you're right, every now and then, and particularly people who use it for business, you just think, wow, clearly you did not think before you hit the enter button.
Yeah, really.
Amazing.
That I like the billboard concept. That's a good one. That, or I would tell people, would you really say that at a networking event, face to face, with a whole
Right.
bunch of people, like a Chamber of Commerce event or something? Would you really say that?
Yeah.
And not, whoa, you really shouldn't be putting that on Facebook. That's even worse.
It's funny to me, and especially, you know, and we're getting ready to go into another political season, so it's just going to ramp up over the next few months. And, you know, my theory is always, beliefs aside, just don't be hateful and don't, you know, it's, I think a lot of people use it as their opportunity to have a platform and have a soapbox, and really, it's social media. It's not education hour.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I try to stay pretty much away from the whole political thing, period. I mean, I'll comment if someone's asking for an opinion about somebody, but for the most part, I try to stay totally out of it.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. And I know people who have lost friendships over posts on Facebook, and to me, that is just so counter to the whole concept of what it's supposed to be about.
Yep, exactly.
People are
So,
interested.
so Tracy, do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
Um, you know, I really think that if there's one message I really want to get out there and let people know, it's not to be afraid of social media. It's not scary. It's, you know, I think sometimes people who are involved in the industry, people who have been doing it a long time, we start to use all the phrases, right? So I'm going to go tweet this, and I'm going to PM that, and I'm going to IM this, and it really can start to sound scary. And then you
Hmm.
start putting in the qualifications about, you know, I'm going to post this video up and make sure I get enough likes, but I've got to get the right amount of shares, so let me make sure I hashtag. It just isn't that complicated. I mean, anybody can get started in social media by creating a free account and just setting a timer. The same way we were talking about doing to keep yourself off it, do that to keep yourself on it. So you can just, yeah, half hour a day. You know, just try it out, see what it is. It, like you were saying, I mean, you and I have both gotten a lot of business from social media avenues, and I have this theory in my family, and I've kind of put it out there to clients and prospects, and I'll just share it with you really quickly, which is that nobody and nothing should ever be afraid of something. So I have a dog that has always been afraid to walk on tile floors, and I spent months training him, and he'll now walk on tile floors. Not that I want him in my kitchen, mind you. I kind of prefer him out of that room. I just don't think anybody or anything should be afraid of an inanimate kind of thing. Same with my kids. If there's something they're afraid of, you know, we'll work through it until it's not a fearful thing for them. Same thing with social media. You know, I really just encourage everybody to try it out, know what it is. If you're working with a social media coach or consultant, be informed. By all means, please make sure you have your usernames and passwords for all of your accounts. You know, I think there are some things people can do to just make it not quite as scary and unknown to them.
Yep, good point. Okay, so if somebody wants to connect with you, it's streetsmartchick.com, right?
It is streetsmartchick.com. It's CHICK. I thought for a while about CHIC, and my teenage daughter politely informed me that has to do with being chic, and this is not something she would refer to me as. I am much more of a chick, so apparently I'm CHICK.
That's a good one. Awesome. Okay, well, thanks, Tracy, for coming on. It's been great talking to you.
You bet. Thank you. This has been awesome.